Hello friends, welcome back to Digitalk. So we are going to launch a complete end-to-end series of the DevOps sessions. Okay, and this is the first session, which is just the introduction to DevOps. Okay, so this session will be available on our primary Digitalk channel, which is basically for the multiple technologies, not for us any specific. So we are publishing multiple middleware, DevOps, cloud computing, and some other related sessions on our primary YouTube channel. Okay, now for specifically for this DevOps course, we have created a dedicated separate channel. Okay, and there we are going to publish all the sessions in sequence, starting from the introduction to DevOps. Okay, so if you really wanted to be an expert of DevOps and then you have not reached to that particular channel, then I have given the link of that particular channel in the comment of this particular session. Okay, so if you are still on our primary channel, okay, then this sessions will be available on the primary channel. Along with that, in the secondary DevOps channel as well, where that channel will be specifically dedicated for the DevOps session and in the sequence. So let's start with the first session, which is what exactly is DevOps. So what we are going to cover in this session is we are going to cover introduction to DevOps. Okay, so I'm explaining from starting from the scratch. Okay, just for the beginners as well. Okay, so if you have some knowledge of DevOps, then definitely you are going to get something on top of your knowledge as well. Okay, but if you are a beginner, okay, and just trying to start your career as in the DevOps, you want to learn the DevOps. Okay, so this session is specifically for you because I'm going to explain everything from the scratch. Okay, even the same theory I will be going to apply on each and every session, where I will explain everything from the scratch till the advanced level. Okay, so now what exactly is DevOps? So very first thing, when you look for the DevOps, okay, so this is a combination of two words, which is dev and ops. So here dev belong to your development, okay, and ops, this belong to means operations. So what does it mean? Okay, so development, we all know what exactly is development, where we develop some code using some of the languages. Okay, and when what are the operations? When a code goes live in a production environment, okay, then we have a phase which is called the operation, where we maintain your application on day-to-day basis. Okay, in the support environment, which is called the operations. So these are the two important keywords here, development and operations, and both together make the term which is called the DevOps. Right, now what is the purpose of combining the term DevOps together? That means combining the development and operations together. Okay, so let us talk about that one. So let us first start from the traditional development system. Traditional development system, or you can say the SDLC, Standard Development Lifecycle, or Software Development Lifecycle. Okay, and we have to learn it in the way of DevOps. Now what does it mean? When we do the development of our application, okay, until it reach to the operations, right, that means till it reach to your production environment, live environment, which is your live environment, there are multiple things happen in between development and operations. And even when the application goes live, and in the maintenance phase or in the operations phase in the production, there are multiple things still you have to take care after that as well, during your operations and production. One example is that your code is developed, it is deployed in your production, and after that you have going through a frequent code changes, where you need to continuously deploy your application or the updated code in your production environment, right, and then continuous maintenance of your application. So that means there are multiple things that is executed between your development and operations phase. Okay, and what are those different operations, or you can say what are those steps, okay, we execute between development and operations. So let us talk about that one. Now suppose that you have a development team where some developers are there and they are doing the development of code. right? So traditionally what happens is that whenever the multiple developers are working on a single code or a single applications, okay, they develop their part of the codes or modules, okay, and they check in a centralized location. Like we have a svn and github and many more code repositories are there, like centralized code repositories for easy management, right? So now once the code reach to the centralized code management repository, okay, after that you have to run the build, right, which will compile your code and tell you that everything is good or not. If any errors are there, that compilation will get failed and you have to build the code again, right? And if the build is successful, that means your code file is ready, correct? Now once your code file is ready, before it reach to your production live environment, you will have a multiple other environments in between, correct? You may have a testing environment, you may have a quality environment, you may have a pre-prod environment, and then you have the production environment. Now once your code is ready and tested in your development environment, right, it has to be moved to the testing environment, where you have multiple testers and they are performing the multiple testings, regression testings, unit testings, integration testings. And once the testing is completed, then your code move to the quality to check the end-to-end quality of your code according to the compliance, to check the complete end-to-end compliance and quality of the code that you have developed or the software, right? So once it is passed from the quality, it will go for the pre-production, and once it is passed in the pre-production, then it will reach to the production, right? So that means you have a multiple environments in between before it reach to the production, and along with that you have to perform the multiple testings once your code is ready, right? There are multiple kind of a testings. So once all the testing is done, then it is moved to the some other environments till it reach to the production environment, right? This is the first page when your code is going to be live. Now apart from that, if you are doing any change in your code, any functionality is get changed, any logic is get changed in a code, you have to follow the same process, right? That means you have to develop the code again, you have to pass into central repository, then it will go to the testing phase, then it will go to the quality phase, then it will go to pre-production, and then it will go to the production, right? So this is a continuous process, and it is a very time taking process. Even you are doing a single small change in your code, it has to follow the complete process, right? You can't skip your different phases that is there in between your development testing. Even it is a small change in your code, you have to follow the complete process, right? So this is a very you can say very time taking process where the lot of manual efforts are required, and because there are manual efforts are there, so there may be a chance of the errors or problems during the executions, right? Human errors. So this is one of the challenge where we have multiple phases between your development to the production, or you can say between development and operation environment, where you have a multiple challenges are there. As I said, we have a multiple efforts need to be taken there, then multiple other challenges are there, right? We'll discuss about that as well. What are the some more challenges are there? Okay, so one of the challenges I said, even you're doing a small change in the code, you have to follow the complete end-to-end process before it reach to the production again, right? Now, one of the major challenge that we face, the code is working properly in your development environment. When it moved to the testing environment, then it stopped working, or some of the functionalities may not working properly in your testing environment. There could be multiple reasons of that one. The main reasons could be that you have a certain kind of a dependencies, okay, which is missed in your testing environment, right? Which is exist in your development environment, but not in your testing environment, right? So now in that case, what you are going to do if you are getting this kind of a challenges that okay, the code is working in development, but now it is not working in the testing, right? So this is one of the common challenge. Now there are a lot of other challenges are there apart from that, this particular challenge. And what are the other challenges? Let me tell you. The very first thing, let's think about that. When you are going to build your development environment, your testing environment, your quality environment, pre-prod, production environment, then all the environments need to be built in the same setup and configurations of the softwares in terms of softwares. For example, if you need to install the web server, you need to install the application server, you need to install the database, Then you need to perform the configurations and integrations of your applications that you have deployed. Right? That means to set up an environment from the scratch, there are multiple things that you have to follow once your virtual machine or your server is ready. Right? And same exercise you have to follow in each and every environment. Right? Once the same setup you have to do in the development environment, in the development virtual machine or in server. Same setup you have to perform in your testing environment. Same setup you have to perform in your quality environment. Same setup you have to perform in pre-prod and in the prod as well, right? So that means what you are doing, you are exactly doing the repetitive task of the same thing again and again in each and every environment. And what you are doing, you are completely installing the software from the scratch. You are completely doing the configurations. You are installing the database. You are doing the integration of your applications. You are installing the dependencies, library files, right? You are doing a repetitive task. And then now think about how time taking it is. Right, in a real-time production environment, there could be multiple development environments, multiple testing environments, servers, virtual machines, similar for quality productions, pre-productions. Then how much time taking it is, and how it is, how effective it is. Effective in the sense, how you can ensure that the person that is doing these kind of installation setup and configurations, okay, that person is doing the consistent same set of configurations in each and every environment. There could be a manual or human errors as well during this kind of a setup and configurations. Okay, and for that, one of the reason could be that, as I said, the code is working in the development environment, but it is not working in the testing environment. There could be a chance that there are multiple dependencies that has been not implemented there. Right, so it is completely a very long cycle, long efforts taking. There could be a chance of manual errors there. Right, so this is the other challenge. Now, as I said, you have frequent code changes, right? And in that case, you need to follow the complete life cycle of the code from development till your operations. Now, think about the scalability. Scalability in the sense, today suppose that you have a 4 servers in the production. Now, tomorrow your user base is growing, your clients are increasing, and you have a load on your servers are getting increased, and now you want 2 more servers to be added in your production environment. Now, think about how much time it is going to take. Right, you need to configure your servers and virtual machines. So you may be on the cloud, and then you can spin up the virtual machines very quickly, okay, within a minute of a time. But apart from that, the other major challenge is that whatever the architecture you have in your production environment for all the 4 existing servers, same need to be repeat in your the new servers for the scalability. For example, if we have done the setup of web server, application server, database, or maybe some other softwares, other dependencies, integrations, everything you have to configure from scratch in these new 2 servers, and then these 2 servers need to be integrated with the rest of the 4 server introduction. Right. So this is going to be very time taking, and then there could be manual errors, okay, and there could be other problems as well for during the executions. Right, that means this is again a challenge. So now in a nutshell, what we have learned so far about the DevOps. So DevOps is specifically a word that is derived from the development and on operations. That means whatever the phases that we have between the development and operations, we have discussed about what are the different kind of challenges that we have in the development and on operations. Once the code reach from a development till the production environment, which is also called the operations. Right? What kind of a challenges that we have there? Now, what could be the alternate of that one? How we can simplify this complete end-to-end management of your software, which is going to be developed and then it is reaching to your production environments. Okay, so for that we have the DevOps. Now let me tell you what exactly DevOps. Okay, so let me open a new whiteboard. So what exactly DevOps? In the DevOps, what we are doing it automation. Okay, what kind of automation we are doing? Whatever the steps that we follow between your development and operations. That means once the code is developed, and then it reaches to your production environment. So in between, whatever the steps that we have been doing manually, okay, that need to be completely automated with the help of DevOps. So now DevOps is a very, you can say it is a logical term or a logical concept, okay, and this is not a specific technology or software. DevOps is a combination of multiple tools and multiple technologies. I'm sure you heard about the Docker, which is a containerized solution. You heard about the Kubernetes. You heard about the Jenkins. You heard about the IaaC, infra as a service. Okay, and where you have learned about some infra tools, for example, Terraform. Right? There are multiple n number of tools are there. Okay, in the DevOps. So in a nutshell, DevOps is not a particular tool, group of multiple tools and technology that we use in our DevOps. That means between development and operations to automate the complete end-to-end process. So that means the code that you are developing, okay, after that you have to make certain kind of a automation that it automatically pass all the phases like the testing, building of the code, compilation, testing, okay, and then it can automatically reach to your production. There is no manual interventions are required in between, right? So all these things we can do with the help of DevOps. That means what we are doing the complete end-to-end automation in the DevOps with the help of multiple tools and technology. So if you really wanted to be an expert of DevOps, okay, so you have to be proficient on some of the technologies, like one of the containerized solution, one of the orchestration solutions like the Kubernetes, and if you would like to do a infrastructure automation, then you should aware about some Terraform and some other related tools as well, right? And that we are going to cover everything in this particular series. Okay, so one by one we will start from the basics and then we'll reach to each and every topics like the Docker, Kubernetes, infra as a service, where we will talk about the Terraform, we'll execute the exercises. Everything we are going to cover in this development and operations, or you can say DevOps series, right? So what are the benefits that we are achieving with the help of DevOps? Some of the important things. Very first thing, you don't need to build the same set of software and integrations every time in every environment. So what we have learned some time back, the challenges: you have a development environment, you have a testing environment, you have a quality environment, you have a pre-production environment, then you have a production environment, right? So we don't need to follow the same set of processes for installing the software, integration and everything. What you can do instead of that, we use certain technologies like the container solutions. For example, Docker, which is one of the leading container solutions. So what we do, we can set up everything inside this container. For example, our web server, our application server, and our database, our other dependencies, and along with that, certain OS level dependencies as well also packed in this particular container. So now you can say it is a complete end-to-end package of our end-to-end application software integration, whatever we have done in one of the container. Right. So now if you have a container, you can say it is a also you can refer as a package. So once we have package which contain our everything, application, our code, database, and web servers, application servers, other softwares, everything. So what you can do, you can take this container or this package and you can easily move from one environment to different environments, right? So that means you are saving your lot of time which you were wasting doing the same set of repetitive configurations in each and every environments. So once this container, one of the container is ready, you can take this container, spin up in any of the environments, right? So that means your complete end-to-end softwares and applications will be ready within couple of minutes in the multiple environments at the same time, right? This is one of the benefit that we will cover detail once we'll reach to the Docker and container sessions. Okay, this then we are going to discuss this in very detail, okay, along with the executions, right? So this is one of the benefit. Second, the drawback what we have discussed, if your code is moved in the traditional way from development to testing, then we get a complaint like it is not working. However, it is working in development but not in testing. That is because there could be some misconfigurations in your testing environment, or maybe some dependencies are missing. So now if we have a containers, right, which contain everything, and we are simply moving this container to the different environments, so this challenge is not going to come, right, because the same set of softwares, application and dependencies that is packed will be moved to the other different environments. So you will not get a challenges where like certain dependencies are missing, certain library files are missing. You will not get these kind of a challenges, right? So along with that, we save a lot of efforts between your development and operations. How? When suppose that, let me give an example how we save the efforts between your development and operations. And for that, let me open a new whiteboard. Okay, so now suppose that you have a certain developers, developer 1, developer 2, developer 3, developer 4, developer 5, right, and they are doing the work on some code, and then they are checking the code in the some central repository like SVN. Okay, or it could be your GitHub, which is a cloud based repository, right? Now this is their production environment. Okay, now suppose that if I'm going to use the DevOps in my operations, and once the code has been developed by your developers and they have checked in the code in the central repository, for example, consider the GitHub, which is a cloud based repository, right? After that, as soon as the code that is checked into your repository, okay, you will have some other tool in place to automatically build your application. For example, we are using the Jenkins. Okay, this Jenkins is configured to continuously listen for your repository. For example, if you have configured the GitHub, okay, so what we do, we create a link between the GitHub and your Jenkins tool. That configuration we do from the Jenkins, and this will complete in the detail in the next sessions. Once we will reach to Jenkins, then we'll learn in detail how we create this kind of a connections using the pipelines, and what is the concept of Jenkins. Everything will cover. Okay, so now we have created a connection here between Jenkins and GitHub. Okay, and there is a trigger which listen for the new code that is checking to your GitHub. So as soon as the new code is there in the GitHub from the developer side, your Jenkins will automatically pull this code. It will automatically initiate the build where it will compile your complete code, right, and it will build your application. For example, if you are going to build in your Java based application server, so there could be a var file, there could be a EAR file, jar file. So it will automatically build after the compilation. And then what you can do in the Jenkins pipeline, we can define the multiple testing scenarios. What we do the automation of the testing steps. Okay, so once your code file is created automatically, okay, then your test cases will get executed automatically. Okay, this we can define in the Jenkins pipeline. Okay, so that means you will have a test of multiple series of the test that will executed once your code is ready, one by one. Once all the tests are passed, okay, then your final code can automatically be deployed to your production, or it could be initially to your pre-production. Okay, and from pre-production it can to deploy to production. If you are doing a manual production, you are not going for automation. You only want the automation of your code compile and building of the files, and only the testing. So that means your code will be automatically ready. The build, compile, testing, everything will be done by the automation, and your code is ready to deploy in your production or maybe in the pre-production. So this deployment you can either do in the manual way, or you can also automate as well. You can directly deploy the application here as well, right? So now complete steps in between we have automated. So now let me tell you one more benefit of this one. So what is the drawback we have learned in the traditional way of the application development and making it to the production? If you are doing a small change in the code, you have to follow the complete life cycle, correct? This is one of the drawback that we have learned. Now suppose that we have completely automated with the help of DevOps. So irrespective of the change that you are doing, even it is a small change or it is a big change, you don't need to worry about that one. As soon as the code reach to your central repository, your build will automatically kick off. It will automatically test it and deploy it in the designation environment. So you don't need to worry about that, oh, it's a small change and then now again have to follow the same process again and again, right? You don't need to worry about that one. You can just check in the code. It will automatically be taken care by your DevOps tool for the building, testing and compilation and the deployment into your production environment, right? Now the other benefit, what is the other benefit? The one of the drawback I talk about the scalability, where suppose you have a 4 environment in your production, you want to have a 2 more, then you need to follow the complete setup from the scratch, right, for the new 2 virtual machines. But now in the DevOps, as I said, we use the containers, right, which contain all of your software, code, data, everything. Now suppose that you have today you have a 4 server, tomorrow you need the 2 more servers. You don't need to worry about all these configurations from end to end. You just create the virtual machine or your servers and then you can directly deploy this container here. Okay, within few couple of minutes of a time, your environment will be scaled. Now doesn't matter if it is 2 server, 20 server or maybe 2000 servers. You just need the time to build your virtual machines, which take couple of minutes in the cloud, right? And then you can deploy your containers in all the machines even in a single go. So this is going to save your lot of efforts, right? So that means your scalability will be very easy in the DevOps. So even you are doing the scale out or you are doing the scale in. Scale out means you are increasing the capacities, for example, from 4 server to 6 server, and scale in matlab that means you are doing from 6 to 4. That means you are reducing the capacity. And why we are reducing? Because there could be a chance that out of 24 hours in a day, the peak load is only for the 6 hours, and rest of the 18 hours the load is very less, right? So when you have peak load for this particular 6 hour of time, you can increase the capacity, and for rest of the 18 hours you can again decrease the capacity to save your cost, right? So with the help of these containers in the DevOps, the scalability is very easy for your environments. You can scale out or you can scale in very easily with just a click, okay, and it will automatically be taken care by your DevOps tool, whatever you are going to utilize. Either it is a Docker containers or some other containers or maybe the Kubernetes for orchestration. So there are multiple tools, okay. So everything can be done on a single click basis, right? So that means the benefit that we have learned about, you can increase the efficiency, productivity, you can save the time, you can do the complete automation of your code build, testing and then deployment. You don't need to perform the repetitive task. The scalability very easy, and along with that deployment and rollback is also easy. Okay, so let me tell you this one more benefit. What I mean with the deployment and rollback. Okay, deployment and rollback. This is because this is one of the other major benefit of your DevOps. Deployment and rollback. Now we know that we have a containers that we can easily scale in our environment. Now suppose that in a production I have 6 VMs, okay, and in each VM I have multiple containers are running and each container is running my code, correct? Now suppose that you are going to deploy some new code, you are going to deploy your application. So now you don't need to deploy it manually. Instead of that, what you need to do, you just need to deploy the container, correct? You have the one main container which will contain your new code. You just take this container and start deploying in each and every environment like this one. Okay, so this kind of a deployment you can automate with the help of orchestration tool like Kubernetes. Okay, so this will be a cyclic or no outage kind of a deployment. or you can say a rolling deployment of your application. So that means if you have a 6 servers, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and you have initiated the deployment of your new container, it will first deploy on the first virtual machine. If you have a 4 containers there, it will deploy each containers one by one. It will replace with the new container, and once it is done, that will reach to a second one. Once second is completed, then it will go for the deployment of container in the third one. Similarly, it will go for 4, 5, and 6. So that means you just need to update your code in one container, and then you just need to click from a single location, and it will automatically going to deploy it in your each and every container, in each and every machine, and in the rolling fashion. That means no downtime of your applications, right? Now think about the other benefit of that. Suppose you want to do the rollback of your application due to any reasons, you can again just give a single click from your orchestration tool like Kubernetes. It will automatically going to roll back the application one by one from each and every virtual machine, from each and every container, and it will replace it with the previous container. So you don't need to do anything manually here. So that means your complete end-to-end deployment and rollback will also be very easy. Doesn't matter the number of virtual machines or containers you have, thousands of machines, thousands of containers. You can just click from the orchestration tool Kubernetes, and everything will be done by automatically for you. You don't need to worry about anything manually. Correct? So now, hopefully, you have some good idea of the DevOps. What exactly is a DevOps? So as I said, it is a combination of development plus operations. Now, what is the meaning of that? We have covered in detail, right? And what are the benefits that we are going to achieve with the help of DevOps? The multiple major benefits are: it increase the efficiency, productivity, and saves a lot of time. It do the complete automation of your development and operation phases. You don't need to do any kind of a repetitive task manually. The scalability very easy, and the deployment and rollback of the applications will also be very easy, right? So this is the basic concepts of your DevOps, right? So stay tuned for the next session. We'll post it very soon. Thank you.